Yo, bloggers on no. It's your boy Farai. Thank you for coming through the podcast. We have some good topics for you today, man. So listen up.
I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't gonna go crazy, man. I didn't really want to go crazy, but after this weekend, man, I feeling real fucking luxurious. We had a great time this weekend, but I don't know, is your boy the luxurious one, Mr. Webb? If you're listening, thank God you're here to be able to listen. And if you're watching, you already know the vibes, man. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah, my son, Mr. Luxurious. I see you had a time this weekend, my son. You're holding true.
Yeah, man.
You're holding true to the name, so I give much respect to that. But you don't know, you gotta keep it plain and simple and sweet. You know, it's just Brian returning to do the thing. I ain't want to hype up the vibe so much because we got a special guest today. My nephew, Malachi, the Dan, young man, but Don did a lot. Me, I ain't gonna save all his accolades for a little later in the pod. I just want to dive straight into it. And we got a good vibe tonight, fellas. Malachi, introduce yourself, man.
Yes, I hail up everybody. I don't know this is a worldwide pod, so konnichiwa, ni hao, hola to everybody. Yeah, man, Malachi Peterson, born and raised here in St. Croix. Had the opportunity to travel the world a bit and went to college away from home. Was definitely a great experience. But ever since COVID, being back home and being back here on the island, I was trying to do my thing, learn from different areas, and just trying to find ways to spread that information.
Yes, sir. Respect to that, man. Respect to that. And for y'all, I don't know what way about living his best life for. Just randomness, I don't know. But man been in mansion, sending videos, 17 bedroom, 2,500 square foot pool. Like.
Wait. Ayo, don't forget about the private chef, bottle service every night, top shelf.
Hey, me ain't gonna lie. So just to get a little context of the kind of weekend we had, right? We went to the first night, you know. We went to the club. Man, we ain't get no section, nothing, you know. My partner pull up and like we buy a bottle. And you know, they like, oh, you need a section to get a bottle. We like, man, we don't want no section. We is not getting this bottle unless y'all gonna bring us this bottle with the bottle girls in the middle of the club on the dance floor. Them man end up setting up a whole table in the middle of the fuck to put the ice and everything.
That's G shit.
And bring the bottle beer. So that was real. Hey, me like that was real P. I feel like what? Nah, man, we some big shot. No, hey, my pocket feel it, but hey, it was a good time, man. It was a good little reset.
That's good, man. Aspire to be like that one day in my life, you know. But let's get into it. Malachi, we know you're a man that really into your financial knowledge. So this topic is about business. And what better way to start off than simply to ask you, how do you go about legally forming a business?
Yeah,
What's the
so
steps?
it's definitely a lot of different ways. All depends on your location, your state. But, you know, we here in the VI. So the first step is you want to go to the Lieutenant Governor's office. That's like the first step. The first step is you getting either a trade name. That's where you also set up your business entity, whether that's LLC, a S Corp, nonprofit, or a corporation. Everything starts with Lieutenant Governor's office. So you have the option to choose which entity is best for you. You go to there. You pay the fees. The fees are normally a franchise tax. That's what we call it when you need to renew your business application. Everything starts with Lieutenant Governor's office. And then from there, if you really want to legitimize your business, you would either need to get an EIN number and then go on to get your business license. So the EIN number you can get from the IRS website. That's free. From there, you now have all the information that you need to then go to DLCA, which is Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs. And that's where you would then apply for your business license.
And I want to reiterate something. I know it happened, and one of my friends, them just bring it back up again. Our websites are going to try to tell you that, hey, you pay to get your EIN. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to repeat it again. Your EIN number is free. You just go on the IRS website. Well, yeah, real easy as well. You just go on the IRS website, sign up, put the information for your business. And I think with mine, they have sent it in the mail, a letter in the mail, and I just write it on a board because I'm going to forget that.
If you have to pay, you're in the wrong place.
Facts. I know you brought up the lieutenant governor's office. I know it's kind of more local to home. I know in the States, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if you did one in the States, but I think it's the Secretary of State in the States.
Yes, Secretary of State.
Yeah, so if you're in America, I don't know about other countries, but if you're in America, you go to the Secretaries of State website, and there you could do your business on your own, or you could pay one of these legal Zoom or these different entities to do it for you. But at the same time, I've done the paperwork, and I'm not gonna lie, the paperwork is kind of simple. It's not really that hard, but there's other things that does come with doing it on your own. I'm sure we're gonna get into as well.
And then one thing I would like to add with your trade name, sometimes you might have a name for your business that's very similar to somebody else. In my case, so I fire out images, I do photography on the side, drone operations. They actually have an entity in the Virgin Islands named Far Right LLC, spelled the same way. So I actually had to go to the guy with a notary, and he had to sign off on a letter giving me approval to use the name, just due to how similar the names were. Even though there was completely different types of businesses, different industries, I had to get approval from that entity to use that name. So
Far Right Images and the other company was called just Far Right LLC.
Yep, I have no idea why they have that name. I don't know
like.
the reason, but yeah.
All right, jump back into it. I have another question you brought up. You brought up LLC, S Corp, C Corp, nonprofit, and those different things. What's the difference? If you give a quick definition that the common man can understand the differences between those.
Yes, so I'm gonna start from the beginning. It starts as a hobby. This is something that you enjoy doing, and you're thinking, yeah, you're good at it. And now you think, okay, maybe I should start doing this for some money. Whether that be hair, photography, music. We gotta start with doing something that we enjoy doing. We get good at it, and we want to make it something bigger than just doing it part time, or you want to find some ways to get some income from your time that you put into this effort. So now when you're starting out, you're gonna just have a name in mind. Like Farah was saying, you have Farah Images. So now you can also get just a trade name. So if you're just starting out, you're a sole proprietor, you're doing business under your own name, but you're doing business as, so sometimes you will see someone's name, and then you will see DBA. DBA stands for doing business as. So you could be doing business as Farah Images or whatever your trade name is, and now that trade name is secured through the Lieutenant Governor's website. So now you have secured that name as a sole proprietor. So now you don't have to go as just your government name. You have a separate name that you could do business as. So now from there, if you want to legitimize yourself, the difference between a trade name and actually registering a business is the fact that a trade name, you can put it on a sign. With an actual registered business, you could put on a bank account. So you can go to a bank and say, hey, I want to open a bank account in my trade name. You need to actually create an actual entity, an actual business entity, which will become a LLC, a S Corp, or a C Corp. And actually, a S Corp is just a tax status. It's not an actual entity. So you need to either be an LLC or a C Corp that can then, based on your business qualifications, you can then be eligible to transform your business, your entity, into a C Corp. I mean, an S Corp. So now from there, you're thinking, okay, I get my trade name. I want to do things a little differently. I want to open a business bank account. The easiest way that most people are familiar with is a LLC. LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation. So now this is a separate entity from yourself. You now have the ability to go for an EIN number. An EIN number is similar to a social, but for a business. So now you have your personal assets and you have your business assets that you can now divide just from creating an LLC and now going for your EIN number. So now that EIN number could go on tax forms, it could go on bank accounts, it could go on applications, you could buy assets with your EIN number versus your social. So now that's another major transformation from sole proprietor to now being an LLC. Then you can also have partnerships where it's multiple people involved. You have single member LLCs where you're just the one man doing the thing, or you could have a partnership where you have more than one. There's no max number on the amount of members that can be a part of a LLC. So you could really have the power to create change, to bring empowerment to people through creating an LLC. It's a very simple thing to do of the other types of entities. Next, you could do a nonprofit where you have board of directors. You would need to be having a social cause that you're trying to provide towards. Yes, a lot of people can make money from nonprofits, especially through applying for grants and stuff. But the main purpose is not to be taxed. So whatever money that you're making, this is seen as you kind of doing the work for the government. So in return, they're gonna say, okay, you're not paying no taxes, you're helping us deal with homelessness or mental health or hunger. So we appreciate what you're doing. So, okay, no taxes for you. But for these other guys that try and make money and try and profit off of their work, whether that be a corporation now, because a corporation is what you're thinking about Facebook, Apple, these are large companies that are on their own. They stand on their own. If you think about anybody suing Facebook, they're not thinking about Mark Zuckerberg or any of the shareholders that are a part of, who are owners of Facebook. Facebook is standing on its own and it's going to be taxed on its own. And then what happens is the business is taxed, and then also the shareholders, based on the dividends that they receive, which is considered dividend income, that will be taxed on another level as well through capital gains. So now that will be on your personal side, thinking of it as another stream of income. And now when you're doing your personal taxes, that's where that dividend income would then also be taxed again. So as a corporation, it's a lot more paperwork. You have shareholders involved. You have to report annually, quarterly to the SEC, and then also you have to provide a lot more tax documents. So yeah, so those are the four different entities. You can either be a sole proprietor where you're just doing your thing on your own, cutting grass, doing hair. You ain't got to worry about nothing. Whatever money you make, you report. Whatever you make, you get paid. You just pay your taxes on your personal taxes. LLCs, partnerships, they kind of go hand in hand. Whatever money you make from a LLC as a single member, it still flows through your personal taxes. But when there's a partnership, whatever your percentage that you gain from that business then flows to your personal tax return. And then nonprofits, they stand on their own. They don't pay any tax, but you still have to report. You still have to report annually what you did for that nonprofit. But if you do get income, then you pay that on your personal tax return. Corporations tax twice, tax at the business level, and then tax based on whatever income or distribution you receive from that corporation on the personal end.
Anybody want to jump in? Any questions? We try a lot of information. Let us just know.
Yeah,
you got us. Let's take a second.
Good information too.
Over you.
I want to go ahead.
So I guess my question: a lot of people automatically think that you have to go to LLC. So it's good that you mentioned that sole proprietorship, because I'm sure a lot of people don't know that you could just operate a business off of a trade name and do business as and things like that. So I think that's very important for people to realize, especially if they're starting out small, they want to do something just from a hobby that they can make money from. It's a good avenue. But I guess my question for that is, I'm assuming there's some form of risk when you're operating through a sole proprietorship.
Yes.
As opposed to a LLC.
Yes. So the limited liability is the key in the LLC. So now, being that everything is separate, you have the ability to separate your personal assets from your business assets. Let's say you in a lawsuit, somebody trying to sue your business. Whatever is in the business name is what can be put up for a lawsuit. Nothing personal. So that's the main difference in terms of the risk protection that an LLC can give you. When you're doing things in your own name, everything in your name is up for grabs. So that's why people create the LLC. They could shift assets around towards the LLC just to give them that risk protection for sure.
I want to ask one more question before we have to push. But I noticed you said S corp. You didn't really talk on it too much because it is tax identification mostly. So one of the I want to say is a misconception, but I want to ask you the question. A lot of people think that the tax benefits comes with the LLC versus the S corp versus the sole proprietorship. Can you kind of talk about the differences in taxation between those three things?
Yes. So for the LLC, when you have an LLC, when you're doing your taxes, you're going to have to fill out something called a Schedule C. The Schedule C is a tax form that shows your profit and loss on your business. That's the name of the form. It's called profit and loss for business. So with that form, you now have the ability to show and prove your expenses and your income. So now let's say I make $50,000 doing my business, but in the cost of doing that business, I spend $30,000 in various expenses. So now instead of being taxed at my gross income, which is the $50,000, I'm actually going to be taxed at my net, which is the 20. The $50,000 income minus the $30,000 of expenses. That will become my net income. So now as a LLC, you now have the ability to, and as a sole proprietor as well, both of them are the same in terms of tax preparation. The only difference is the risk protection and the legitimacy of being able to separate yourself. But when it comes to tax time, no matter if you're a sole proprietor doing business or a single LLC doing business, it's still going to be that same standard process where you have the ability to write off expenses. So now from there, you get taxed at your 20,000. Go through the tax brackets, and that's your tax. Now for the S corp, you get eligible to become an S corp when you're making a certain amount of money. Anyone can just say, okay, I want to be an S corp because I made $20,000 this year. There's a certain income threshold which you have to be able to pay yourself a reasonable salary. So now let's say instead of I make 50,000 last year, and this year I up to 150,000. Now I have the ability to, instead of taking a little money here and there, whenever I say, okay, I had a good day, let me put something on an account, I could actually say I could give myself a steady income, and that would be my salary from the business revenue. So now from there, and this is why S corp is a lot more complicated, because it's a lot more work. It's a lot more. It's more expensive to set up. It's a lot more to maintain. You need to have an actual payroll system, accounting system, because one of the benefits of an S corp is you have the ability to make yourself an employee. You can now make yourself an employee of your own business. But what comes with that is you now have to be the boss of yourself as well. You have to make sure you pay on a bi-weekly basis or a monthly basis your payroll taxes. So payroll taxes is, your social and your Medicaid. Those are the two things that come onto your check, as well as the federal income tax. So now that you're paying an actual employee, which is yourself, you now have to pay these taxes on behalf of yourself, the same as if your employer would have been paying, which you see come out of your check every 2 weeks. They pay half and you pay half. So that's how the taxes work. They're paying half on your behalf, and then you're paying the other half. So now that you're your own employer, you have the ability to pay the half for yourself, and then also the other half that the employer would have paid, you can now write that off as a deduction as well, because it's considered payroll tax and it's a deduction. And from there, you have the ability to now, you don't have to pay that payroll tax. And I actually missed a step. So now with the LLC now, going back to the LLC case, you made all the money on your own. Nobody paid taxes for you. And this is a very big problem that a lot of people do, where they say, okay, I make all this money, ain't nobody taxing me, but then come around tax time, you looking now, you owe $4,000. And you trying to figure out how I owe $4,000. The $4,000 coming from, one, you didn't pay the income tax. Two, you didn't pay the Social Security. You didn't pay the Medicaid. And the Social and the Medicaid, that is called self-employment tax on the LLC sole proprietor side, because you don't have nobody paying that taxes for you. And remember, it is two halves. You paying half and the employer paying half. So now, when you come to pay your self-employment tax, you got to pay 100%. Okay. But there's a good thing that you could write the 50 that would be the employer side could be a write-off deduction. So that helps, but you still have to end up paying the full.
I like how you touch on the end about that mistake, because that's a big mistake right there, especially when it comes to taxes. So let's talk for the people starting off. I know most people kickstarting a business probably don't have the capital to jump straight to S corp. So let's talk how you mentioned about the sole proprietor and the LLC. So since you already dived into a typical mistake, to me one of the biggest mistakes when it comes to tax, what are some of the other mistakes or misconceptions people have when they first starting out a business? Like what are things that you see that people commonly stumble on or forget or could crumble the business before it really kicks off?
Thinking that this is just you still doing a hobby. Like, yeah, money coming in, money going out. That's a big problem. You need to be able to monitor your expenses, and do actual bookkeeping to make sure you're keeping track of where your money is going, how it's coming in, what are your major expenses, how are you getting a return on your investment? Because you may be thinking, okay, yeah, my bank account say up 1,000, but I mean, you started with 1,000, and you a year, 2 years in, and you still kind of at the same place that you was. So now you can't even see where your growth is if you're not doing the proper bookkeeping to see, am I making a profit or not? because that's the major thing with a business. So now, in the IRS eyes, if you go 3 years without making any profit from your business, they will be considered a hobby, and you will no longer be able to classify that as a business because the point of a business is to make profit. So if you're showing us that 3 years in a row you are just reporting negative losses, that doesn't look good. And it's also a good thing for you as well because you're now trying to add in all these deductions that a regular person would not be able to have. So now that's another big thing between. I don't want to go too far into it, but that's a major difference between being able to be your own boss or being an employee. Is you have that ability to now write off certain expenses that a regular person wouldn't be able to write off because you're doing business.
We'll jump into
So
that
yeah,
a little later. But before you continue from there, I want to make sure people realize what you just say. I ain't want them breeze over it. So I learn people who think I gonna open an LLC, deduct, declare loss every damn year. You're gonna get caught. Like they're not dumb. They're not dumb. They're gonna catch you doing this, man. These is people who created this system, and there's other ways. We can get too much into it on a whole pod, but there's a whole bunch of ways to be able to skirt the system. But if you simply think with your simple mind that you're gonna just, hey, let me just open this business and declare loss every year so that I don't have to pay as much tax, even if you and the past true, that shit that ain't gonna work, bro. It's not gonna work. It sounded too good to be fucking true because it is too good to be true unless you know the loophole them. So I just want to make sure people hear that.
Yeah, and that goes into the next mistake is not keeping track of your receipts. So yeah, you could bookkeep and keep track of your numbers, but now if you don't have that source document, that proof to really say yes, this was for business purpose, that could actually get you in trouble as well, because you have the ability to really change your tax situation with your deductions. If you point out too much deductions, there's a high chance that you could now become additive. And now an audit is when the IRS calls you in and they have red flags in your tax return that they want to look more in depth into. And when they want to look more in depth, they want to say, okay, where's your proof of these expenses? Where are these numbers coming from? If you don't have your receipts, that could be a major problem as well. So just swiping and just taking the receipt and throwing it in the garbage, that's a major mistake. I would recommend just scanning them, then throw them in the garbage, because now I don't like keeping a bunch of papers because now the ink could fade as well. So I would recommend, whenever you got a receipt, just scan it so you have an electronic document. That stays forever and it's more organized. You always gonna know where it is because it's on your computer, it's on your phone, rather than envelope that somebody could pick that up. And next thing you know, they count your stuff, and you can't replicate that. You can't go back to Office Max and say, "Hey, you probably could, but that must be a bunch of walkways." Say, "I buy this laptop 2 months ago. Can you go back and print my receipt?" Yeah, it's not good. You can also use bank statements as well. They get an email.
Yeah, they get an email now too. You could just hit, hey, email the receipt.
Facts.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Email it to yourself. Now, bam, you ain't still gotta worry about it. You just type in the place one time.
That's something I need to utilize more. I always say print.
No, take the time to put in your email and create accounts at places you frequent, guys. It does print and send to email. It's that easy. That easy.
Yep. So bookkeeping, knowing where your money going, keeping track of your receipts, and another one that I would say is definitely knowing what's business and what's personal, because some people live off of their business. Like some people are full-time entrepreneurs and that's all they do. You want to make sure that your personal expenses don't mix with your business expenses, because that just makes the other two steps, the other two mistakes more complicated. Because now when you're doing your bookkeeping, you see all these Disney Plus, these Netflix, all of these other expenses that do not relate to your business are now consuming time when you're trying to reconcile and figure out what goes where. It just makes it a lot more messy. It's really recommended to really keep that aside. You're taking money to pay yourself, to pay your rent, to pay your bills. Just transfer that money over to your personal account and deal with that in your personal account. Anything with business, keep it in business account.
I heard it here. Questions? Any questions?
No, I taking it in. I am definitely a victim of some of the mistakes. I'm not a victim because it's obviously my choice. But I definitely had to learn the hard way, especially bookkeeping. That's one of the biggest things that having been doing both in personal and business.
Yeah, realistically, for the people who think, because a lot of these things going to be hard. Like some of the stuff that he talked about, let's talk about like LLC formation. Other things, don't get me wrong, they take time, but really and truly, they're not that hard once you get into it. But I'm gonna backtrack a little bit to the LLC formation because I want to pick your brain. So when we're forming these LLC, we're here talking about doing all these different taxes and stuff. Somebody gotta keep track of all these taxes that you have to pay, and somebody have to know the taxes that you even have to pay. Because sometimes you just set up your LLC, and then once your LLC set up, there's nobody tapping on your shoulder like, "Yo, pana, you gotta pay this tax every 3 months," or "Yo, pana, or this coming up." "Oh, yo, pana, they just changed the way you gotta do taxation, so now you have to report this every month." There's nobody telling you that. So go ahead and give your explanation of how people could keep up to date. Or what's another option? I'm sure you know what I'm getting at. What's another option for them to be able to keep track of these different things that's changing within the taxation and the business world?
Yes. So that's a good point to bring up. Thank you for that. From tax standpoint, you're a full-time entrepreneur. Nobody's paying your taxes for you from January to December. You just do your thing on your own. And then when the time comes in April, you're going to pay them what you owe. There's a tax penalty or estimated tax penalty for not paying 90% of your actual tax liability. So now let's say I made $100,000 this year. What I'm supposed to pay in taxes is $10,000, but I haven't paid any. Tax time come around, you don't gotta pay the extra because from their standpoint, because the government is using this tax to run operations, pay their own bills, pay their own employees. So in their mind, you basically kind of withheld money that was supposed to be used, and because of that, they're gonna tax you more for not paying your taxes throughout the year. So what people do, what is recommended is you pay quarterly taxes to the IRS, IRB, where you do estimated payments based on, and this is how it goes back into bookkeeping. So if you know from January to March, that's a quarter, you made 5,000, you can estimate that, okay, based on this 5,000, I should probably pay in maybe 750. So you go like another 5,000, you put another 750. So that's one thing that you probably should be doing if you're making a lot of money. You want to make sure that even though no one is paying the taxes on your behalf, and yeah, you could pay it at the end of the year, it is recommended to make sure you're making those estimated quarterly payments so that when the time comes, and let's say, okay, we looked at your full year, you're supposed to pay 10, but you paid us 9,100. 9,100. Now all you gotta do is just pay the rest, pay the other 9, and you're good. Versus paying that whole 10 one time, and that also helps you as well because you don't want to be in a situation where, yeah, you're saving the money for taxes, and then something come up, and now you don't have the money, but you still owe that 10. And every day, every month that you ain't paying that 10, they're gonna tax you with interest, they're gonna tax you with penalties, and taxes have taxes. So they're gonna just keep on taxing you until they get that money. And that man don't play. It'll go quick. It's really a very serious thing to really pay your taxes on time and be mindful of what you owe and learning how to figure out what you can owe by learning how to estimate your taxes. That's something that I do with clients, people that I know that's interested in learning. That's one of the things I do. IRS has a tax calculator, so if you know you're making a salary, you know that if you make 55 last year and you paid 5,000 in taxes, more than likely you don't pay 5,000 again or less, because the tax brackets change every year, and they kind of help us by increasing the brackets. So if you're making the same amount of money, your tax liability basically kind of goes down every year because of inflation and all that stuff. That's what they're trying to say that they're helping you. But yeah, tax code, tax rules change every year. So having somebody that could help you, either accountant, bookkeeper, CPA, definitely could help you keep track of all that stuff so that you don't have to. You can just focus on your business.
And then I would say even for individuals that don't have a business that might be an employee or something that for some reason your employer not taking out taxes out of your check, or they're not taking out enough, it's good to know the percentage that you need to pay. It's good to know where you at when it comes to your check being taxed. Because my wife, she used to work a contracted job where they didn't take out any taxes. And though I did make the comment to save 10% of each check for the tax season, it didn't happen. And when tax season come around, boom, finally starting to get on my feet, saving money. I had to pay 5,000 and change out of pocket towards that. So it was something to be mindful of wherever you're at. And then some companies, some businesses, some employers, they don't tax enough. And you still have to end up paying. You want to know why you ain't getting a tax refund? Well, that's because they ain't taking out enough taxes from your check. So not just having your own business, but even being an employee.
No, I'm saying that's a big thing for sure. I've seen that a lot, where you working a job and you thinking, yeah, they might take out the tax, but and they ain't enough. So you gotta really figure out how to deal with that. Talk to your HR. The form that you need to fill out is a W-4 form. That's those two forms that you fill out whenever you start a job. Is the I-9 for your IDs and all that stuff to make sure you're a citizen, and that W-4 form, which tells your employers how much money to take out. So at the end of the day, it falls back on you, because they're not gonna do it for you. Whatever you put on that paper, they're gonna just follow it. So you need to make sure that you take control of that, and at the end of the day, it's on you to figure out.
But what about like what he mentioned? If she was a 1099 employee, because he did mention that she was a contracted worker. So how
You're
that?
your
How does
own
that
boss.
differ? Okay.
When you're a contractor, you now having your own income. You in that sole proprietor boat. If you have your stuff in order, you have your own business, probably an LLC, or you probably an S corp or a C corp. But from there, if I'm a business and I paying you to do a job for me, I gonna pay you the money and that's it, it's done. For me, I gonna write that off as an expense on my tax return.
Mm-hmm.
I gonna give you a 1099 to show proof that I paid you the amount that I paid you, because 1099s go to you and they also go to the IRS. So whenever you got 1099, even though you ain't getting a W-2 from a job, 1099 is showing and stating that the IRS knows that you made $10,000 from me. So if you go and say, okay, yeah, I do this thing on my own, nobody checking my taxes, they know that you made $10,000 from me, because I rated my taxes. I already gave them the 1099. You have it. Now it's up to you to file it and pay those taxes. If you don't, they already know. So yeah, the contractors, you your own boss. You still gotta pay your own tax.
I got two questions real quick. The first one gonna be, I want people to understand this because I don't think people do. Can you explain why people get a tax refund? Like, why is it you get money back?
A tax refund is great if you have children. That's why, you can only file three. I think it's only 3 or 5 children max that you can file on a tax return. I think it's only 3. Yeah, it's good because you gain additional credits. You gain child tax credit. You gain earned income credit if you low income. There's a lot of different benefits that just adds on to that tax return, to the point where you gain way back, you gain way more than you even imagine. You gain thousands of dollars when you probably was only supposed to pay $500 and you gain back 6. That's really because of all those credits that just pile up because of the children. But a tax return for a regular person just means that you let money fall out your hand, because now that money that you gain back at a tax return just means that you paid too much money in taxes. So now back to the example of you making 55. You know you're making 55 every year, but you don't know how much taxes you're supposed to pay. If you did, okay, cool. 5,000, that's my tax. It's my salary, it's my tax. So now once you know that, you have the ability to say, okay, once I see on my check, on my pay stub, because it show you how much is getting taken out every check, and it also show you the year-to-date amount. So once you see that year-to-date amount get close to or at that number that you know you're supposed to pay, start paying taxes. You have the ability to change your withholdings so that your job can now stop withholding money from your check, because every dollar that goes over, that's money that you could have used for gas, you could have used that to pay your phone bill, you could have used that to save, invest, do so many different things. So now if you know you're supposed to pay 5,000 in taxes and you end up paying 7, and now you're getting back a $2,000 refund, that money ain't coming from the government. That's money that you were supposed to have from the beginning. And now, in our case, you ain't gonna see that $2,000 in probably 2-3 years, and that's money that you could have been used because I did something with that 2000 instead of just paying it into the system and not seeing it for however long.
I wanted to highlight that because I swear a lot of people think this refund money just come out of thin air. And I keep telling the others, like, look, it's your money. Like, you literally getting back your overpayment. Like, this is not money
With
from
no
thin
interest.
air. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You give that man a loan.
It's a gift.
Yeah, keep our money in your pocket, man. Like, keep your money in your pocket. And I don't think a lot of people know that you could, I won't want to say negotiate, but you could change your withholdings. Like, once you see them people done take what they're supposed to get, put that money back in your pocket. So sometimes you complaining why your check looks so.
Mm-hmm.
You allow your check look so while you're getting back $6,000 in your and your refund your check. So
I kid
that's
you
why
not.
it's good.
I only just found out about this W4 like 3 months ago. Cause I went to HR. I'm like, dude, why am I getting taxed so much? and then they're like, let me go look. Like right now, I have a wife and 2 kids. They say right now your W4 indicates that you're a single man with no kids.
Single.
You never update.
So for 4 years, my ass getting overtaxed. My tax refund been healthy, you know. But yeah, man, I did not know. I had no idea about that thing, about that W4, man. It was
If you
not my best
the only
moment.
reason I know, the only reason I know is because of military. So that man will make you one time when you getting in. Or if you're paying attention, they be like, yeah, man, fill out this W4 and put your dependents. Whoop. They're like, okay, well, we're getting that. But then even still, you could forget. You go cheering. The later in that year, you don't forget to go back and change the W4 so you get a refund. But I will say though, if you're a man who can't save your money or who gonna spend your money stupid, overpay and tax you, they're gonna save it for you. This is not financial advice. That is not financial advice.
That only works for people in the States. Like Malachi said, for people back home in the Virgin Islands, you're gonna save it, but you're gonna see it for 2-3 years. So
when they come that 2-3 years later, it's a blessing, you know.
A blessing.
If you are gay 2 years,
I got hot for 3 years.
You'll make it through. Yeah, I do think that's crazy, but when it does hit in those 3 years, it's when you need it.
For real. All right, but last question before we move on. I want you to take me to the journey a little bit. We're talking about these taxes. We're talking about being able to keep track. We're talking about having a business account separate from your personal account. So let's say I walk in the door just now. I set up Webco LLC. That's actually my real LLC. Now I go into the bank now to set up my LLC. So in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, well, I may have to pay for like marketing. I may have to pay for like taxes. I may have to pay for different things. And this shit all coming out like one account. Like, what would you say is a good amount of accounts to open just to keep yourself safe and to have ease of use in the bank? Should you open just one bank account or would you open multiple bank accounts?
I would open one. For me, one is good. But now let's say you have a bank that has different perks, different benefits. Then let's say this bank have higher interest. Maybe you could keep some money there, get some interest, and then use that for something else. But let's say you have a bank that could easily connect to different softwares where your money could easily transfer there. So for me, I mean, it all depends on what a bank can offer. Because I use Navy Federal, and I feel like Navy's a one-stop shop. I don't mess with our banks now here too much because of the red tape, not too much access to a lot of different stuff. You know, it all depends on the benefits that you're getting from that bank, and you know, just it's easier to maintain and keep track of when you're just looking at one bank. You just see one bank statement, see everything come through there, and just make sure that you have enough money to make sure your cash flow is sustained enough so that you know everything is good. You ain't overdrafting, and yeah.
For me, what I did, and you can tell me what you think. So I did. My bank don't have extra fees for opening extra accounts with them. So I just went ahead and I opened a profit account and I opened an account just for taxes. So every time I got a little bread, not a little bread, but every 3 quarters, you take a bread, I say, all right, boom, I got to pay my taxes. Let me just move the money right into the tax account. So I know even in that emergency case, Me getting if I go in the tax, I watching the account say 4 taxes. If I go in there at this point, as a skunk, no, you know what I'm saying? As a fool. I see that account say that. So that's why I asked the question. Cause I do have multiple. I have 3 accounts actually. I have one just for marketing, just so I could be able to see the different.
I think it boils down to discipline as well, because
I agree, completely agree.
like you see, Malachi, he got one account, but clearly this man is disciplined, guys. A lot of people kind of have to. A lot of people don't do that exactly, and I think multiple accounts could kind of help you hide money from yourself. You could limit restrictions, different things like that, just so that, because some people have a spending problem, man. I mean,
True.
I used to be very impulsive with my spending. I'm a lot more mindful of that now. But yeah, some people, if they see the money and they have ease of access, they will spend it. That's why I don't work with cash. I still bad when I have cash. I mean, that cash going to get blown some way, somehow, very easily. It just boils down to your level of discipline, really, and having those accounts could help at least start to just gain your financial responsibility, to then be able to continue getting better with your finances.
Yeah, I was saying that's a good point. Like for me, I never even thought about it like that, because if I see 1,000, I know I already know there's buckets within that amount. You know, so I know 200 for this, 50 for that. So I already having that in my head. But yeah, it's definitely good for people that probably need, to see things in buckets laid out versus just keeping all that in your head. So yeah, that's definitely a good idea to do, especially if it's not costing you any extra money, or they ain't charging you for a low balance amount. Yeah.
All right. Simple question. Sorry for the awkward pause. How do you establish business credit? How do you go about that?
So it all starts with legitimizing yourself, getting that LLC, because to go back with how we were saying, you want to separate your personal versus your business. That all starts with getting that EIN number. And once you get that EIN number, that's you really following all those steps to become a business. And then when you're trying to open a business bank account, you also need to provide your business license. So now, debit, regular cash account versus a credit account, they all gonna ask you for the same information. They may ask for some of your financial information as well. What's your income looking like? They're gonna be asking for like a personal guarantee as well, because even though this is gonna be a separate credit account, it's gonna be tied not to your personal name but to your business. It's not gonna be tied to your social, but it's gonna be tied to your EIN number. They still need to have some form of guarantee from you or any other member in the LLC or is going to be a part of the team. There needs to be someone that's going to be legally liable. Let's say you have a high credit balance and the business goes down, someone's going to need to be liable for that balance. But in order to start business credit, they don't really pay too much attention to your personal credit. So some people can have bad credit, good credit, but they can still get the business credit depending on if their income is really good. But they do look at your personal credit score just to see the amount that they would probably qualify you for. So there's some different credit unions, not credit unions. There's the ways that businesses keep track of their business credit score. It's called a paydex score. So the business credit score is called a paydex score, and the personal credit score is called a FICO score. So now the paydex score is a completely different scale. It goes from 0 to 100, while the FICO score goes from 0 to or 300 to 850. So that's the highest FICO score can go up to. Now the business credit, you would have to apply to a bank. Is really good to apply to a bank for credit that you already have an account with, so that it's easier for them to see that you have some assets that you can be secured in a way from the bank side. It's probably a lot easier since you already have a history with them. So yeah, you can work with the same bank that has your debit accounts to then get your credit accounts. It's really a iffy situation. Like for me, I don't really mess with business credit, but business credit is definitely great if you're already established. I wouldn't recommend business credit if you don't have any proof of really having any income. because now you're putting yourself in debt without any ability to really know how you're going to pay it off. But it can, if you're in a situation where you're trying to grow your business, credit will definitely be a great thing to have, because now you're increasing your buying power. You may not have the money at the time, but you can, use your credit card, your business credit card, and now you're able to get cashback points. You're able to have buyer protection. So now, in case you buy something that you probably need to get a refund on, or you probably got scammed, credit cards is definitely good because they have that extra protection for those type of purchases. If you're trying to do not cashbacks, credit disputes. So now, let's say you buy something and you may not like the service, you could dispute payments through credit cards. So there's a lot of good benefits to having credit cards, but I would say still apply for it, but try and stay away from using it until you know that you can pay it off and you're having that income coming in, that you know that if I spend this money with the business credit card, get the points, but I still have the money to pay it off at the end of the cycle, the statement cycle, so that you don't get that interest payment.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. My boy gave some safe advice. They said, like, hey, I want to make sure everybody heard this before. This is not financial advice. You know what I'm saying? Neither is what Malachi is saying, financial advice, unless you want to go to him and get some services. Correct, Malachi?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's just get out here. The things you are hearing here, take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Malachi has a business. Go tap in with him. We're going to talk about that a little bit before we close. And also, we're going to put out the links to a lot of these stuff, like IRS website and a couple different things. I know, like a couple different entities that could you could do your businesses through and so forth. We're going to drop some of those in the comments for y'all. But business credit, my business credit score is 86, 85, a couple other things.
Sure.
Right. So Malachi said, don't use your business credit. Don't go get business credit unless you're seeing income. I think that's very important for the majority of people, because a lot of y'all, especially with the craze now, you could go on the internet and find 20,000 people that are going to try to tell you OPM. OPM means other people's money, for those who don't. You have to pay back other people's money. Let me tell you something.
Without a doubt.
You have to pay these things back. So while we promoting to, hey, run up the business credit cards, put the trade lines on, go to NAV to be able to see your business credit score. That's an easy plug. I just give you our plugs now. Go to Duns and Bradstreet to be able to get your things reported and so forth. Go to Granger to get your trade lines. While we're doing all these things, remember that you're going to build your credit score. You're going to get your credit card probably from a credit union if you have one, because credit union showing love on business credit cards and credit cards in general. Do not go use up all your money if you don't have a good proof of concept, which is you making some kind of income from this already, or you at least have the income from some other source to be able to pay it back. So let's say, for example, I work in a regular job and I want to go start I don't want to say tour business because that's a bad example, because then we'll be getting into the bank's not even going to touch that rental car business. Let's say like a clothing brand, just for a loose example. You get a business credit card, use a personal guarantee. That's what Malachi was talking about, where you go use your personal credit as the leverage to get your business credit, and then they'll go based off the accounts you have. So let's say they give you $5,000 now, and you want to go get all your materials and stuff to do your clothing business. The payments going to start. You know what I'm saying? Like the payments going to start once you start spending this money. Make sure at least on your personal side, if you're not making money already in the business, make sure on your personal side you could at least pay back this loan that you're essentially taking. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you can just put yourself in a whole heap of debt. And I know they're going to have to tell you could bankruptcy this and this and this. Y'all can't even manage regular money. Trust me, when y'all try to do these things, you're going to be last and just fuck yourself. Let's just call it what it is. So be very mindful that this is money you got to pay back. Do research. Go to accountants. Talk to tax people and get mentors and people who have done this before you start playing in these games, because these things could really mess up your life. But it could help you. You could get a lot of money through business credit. Usually, I would say about a good multiplier based on what your personal get. So let's say you get 5,000 your personal, they probably going to show you a little 10 ball under the premise that you doing some business. And there's another pro tip. If you want to get more money on your business side, beef up your personal account. So already you should be applying for limit increases every 6 months or so that you have like bigger credit card amounts, because or you get some good trade lines on there. If all your credit cards say $500 and you never increase your limits, when you go for business credit, they're gonna be like, well, this man look like a man that could only pay back $500. So why would we risk you with 25,000 or 10,000? You know what I'm saying? So though you'll hear people saying like, hey, the business credit is separate. In the beginning, for a lot of people, they're still looking at your personal credit to a certain extent. So you still want to be able to build that. You still want to be able to beef that up so that if you do use that personal guarantee and stuff, you come out pretty good on the business credit end, and now you have some funds to be able to progress. And then the last tip, I want to say this is not financial advice at all. This is a pro tip that I get from one of my mentors, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, Malachi, if you know. Utilization does not matter as much on your business credit side. So, for example, my business credit is not going to go down if I have a high utilization. That's something that happens on the personal side. So you could run up some utilization on that side. As well as on the business side, there's a lot of opportunities to get 0% APR credit cards, more so than there is on the personal side, unless your credit is kind of really good. So, if you got a lot of utilization on your personal side and you want to do a little mix up, if you're a responsible person, this is for the responsible people. There is ways that you are able to take your money and get over to your business credit cards in a sense. I ain't going to give you the full sauce. I just give you a little tip. Go look into it, go YouTube it and find some good ways and to do that. But you could hide some of your personal utilization on your business side, use the 0% APR and still go back over there and pay it off. And now your personal credit increase and your business credit did not take a hit. That's a pro tip. Go look into it. And we don't want to get too into it on this pod because we have other things to talk about. I probably will get into it on a different pod, but just a little gem for y'all to go look into, man. You could do some great things with credit in general. But business credit is a beast. A lot of 0% APR, high limits. You getting into different lounges. You getting into different hotel categories and stuff. Like, there are a lot of benefits to doing it. So if you're already a responsible spender, you already have a business going and you're making profit, I would go get a business credit card right away. And I'm saying, and start using stuff over there. And then you also have all the protections Malachi talked about as well. But no, everything just kind of beef up. They just respect you, man. Use a regular man, them man ain't respect you like that. Use a business, you get some respect in the streets. You know what I'm saying? That man say you giving back to you employing people and them kind of thing. And then we could go into benefits like starting your own 401k, giving yourself retirement plans and these kind of things on your own, right? Because now you're an employer, especially if you're in an S-Corp and you're employing yourself. But we're going to talk about it because let's jump into the next topic. Or do you want to expand on anything, Malachi? Anything in there you want to give out or pro tip? Or you want to say, hey, shut up, Deshaun, don't say that.
No, that was all good information, especially because there's a lot of different tax benefits, there's a lot of different ways to make your situation a lot more favorable, and that's when you start to get really deeper into taxes and loopholes and, trying to figure out how your situation could lead to some type of benefit. Military, you guys have a lot of different benefits from zero down on homes and all kind of different stuff. But now as a homeowner, you're in a different zone when it comes to your taxes because if you're paying a certain amount, you can write off your property taxes, you can write off your mortgage, you can write off your interest on the mortgage. So your life situation is really starts to reflect in your taxes. So now if you're trying to plan for retirement, there's write-offs for that. If you have children, write-offs for that. If you have child care, there's so many different things, dependents for elderly family members, so it is a lot of different taxes is very deep and it's just really it can be favorable for us if you understand how to use it for your benefit. That would take a lot more time to really dig into all the different loopholes and benefits that you could use with taxes.
But let me jump into one of the biggest popping things on the internet right now. 9 to 5 versus the entrepreneur. It come like on the internet. If you're working 9 to 5, that money, you ain't rank. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna rank if you're working 9 to 5. You gotta be an entrepreneur. You gotta get 40 businesses on the side. You gotta be self-employed. You gotta be big boss in the top. So there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of myths and different pros and cons to being an entrepreneur versus being a 9 to 5 employee. You want to talk on some of the main ones you would say. Let's start with the pros of entrepreneur versus 9 to 5 and vice versa. And then after that, we'll just jump into some of the cons. Or if you just want to jump right into it, you.
So pros of an entrepreneur, pros of an entrepreneur and pros of 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave
when put up against each other.
Yeah. So entrepreneur, you got easy, comfortable life. You get your check every 2 weeks as long as you work.
You mean 9 to 5?
Covered. Yeah. Why is it 8 to 5?
No, you said entrepreneur.
Oh.
I'm like, what? What kind of entrepreneur again?
Yeah, so the 9 to 5, you gain a comfortable, steady salary, your income coming in, as long as you work, you're getting paid, your taxes is being covered for you. Depending on your employer, you can get different benefits such as medical care, family care, sick time off. There are a lot of different benefits that certain employers can provide to you versus now if you're an entrepreneur, you may not have access to those things such as, insurance. You may have to pay out a pocket for yourself, even though that could be a deduction as well. Like health savings accounts and certain things like that you could beef up and put money into and, get write-offs. So because you're now paying for your own medical expenses. So there's a lot of different things with being an entrepreneur, a 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting you're steady income, you get benefits, and that's really it. I don't really see too much else. You get benefits. And
peace of mind. Peace of mind. You ain't got to just show up. Just show up, do what a man tell you to do. That man get you on the clock. You know what time you're starting. You know what time you're finishing.
Yeah. But now the pros of an entrepreneur, you have your own time. You could choose which jobs you want to do. You could say no to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely has more freedom to your time. You have a lot more benefits in the tax system. You have the ability to write off expenses. So now if me and you, I'm an entrepreneur making 50,000, you are 9 to 5 making 50,000. You getting taxed at your 50,000. But I could get taxed based on my net income. I could report that I only make $10,000, even though I make 50. My expenses, my phone bills, doing business, my car is part of my business. So now you paying gas, you paying your car, you paying your rent. But I have a home office, so now I have ability to write off a portion of my rent, portion of my light bill, portion of my water bill. If I do repairs in my home, I could write off a portion of that. So now, even though you could spend your money on those same things, but you can't write them off. But now I could spend my money and write them off, and now I could now spend less money on taxes. So you definitely got a lot better favorable treatment in the IRS or the IRB eyes as a entrepreneur. So I would say that's very huge. You call your own price. Once you entrepreneur, you could you call your price, So whatever you feel like getting paid, whatever you feel like your time as well, you could call that. It's always up for negotiation, but you still have the ability to negotiate. And I would say those are some good kind of pros for being an entrepreneur.
What you say the cons?
The cons of a 9 to 5, very restricted. You don't feel like you have a lot of time in the week because you're working pretty much all the time to get this type of money. Less time with family. You're coming home at 5, probably get about maybe 2 hours until your child goes sleep. Then wake up, gone again. Spend a couple hours with him, and you're gone. Man, I guess just the time.
Yeah, I guess ain't that much. Once you say the pros of an entrepreneur, ain't that much you could say in the cons, because whatever it was on the opposite end, is a kind of 9 to 5. But I want to really get into this entrepreneur things because there's some untold realities. And I skipped the cons for the entrepreneur because the untold realities is going to explain to you well, the viewers, when I say you viewers who getting into this lane or who thinking about getting into the entrepreneurship lane because it's so popular now. And don't get me wrong, I encourage everybody to at least start an LLC if you got a side business because, like we said earlier, if you're listening and you're learning, it's a pass-through entity. So while you're working your 9 to 5, you could still be taking out some of these tax benefits and decreasing your 9 to 5 income and becoming in a lower tax bracket and paying less taxes. You know what I'm saying? But the untold realities of being an entrepreneur. I want to start with one. I want to give out. I've been racking as a contractor and having been 9 to 5 for quite some time now. And let me tell you some the time management is different when you just have it on yourself and you have to make this money. It hit real different, especially when you start having the pressures of, you ain't really breaking the bank with your business and these kind of things, and you start to feel defeat. I guess there's a lot of mental stresses there. Untold realities is the mental stress of being an entrepreneur. That shit hit a lot different when you could be able to just go to a job, your boss have to worry, all the stuff we talked about on this pod. The taxes, the accounting, and don't get me wrong, you could pay people for these things, but until you get to a certain point where you're making enough money to turn a profit and able to hire these people, it's all on you. And that shit could get discouraging. That shit could put you in modes of depression. And if you're not good with your time, hey, Allah, you know what? I'm going to just do it. You get up 8 o'clock. You know you got to get up and go do some shit. Next thing you know, nobody on your ass. If you late to work, nobody going to say, hey, you come late to work. No, man. You just lay back down. Next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And you yourself do what you have to do for your business yet. So I think that's one of the untold realities is this shit is not easy. In the beginning, you might be working way harder than you would work in a 9 to 5. And that's not everybody's situation. You have a lot of different situations where you could turn out really successful in the beginning. Or maybe you was one of those people who started with a 9 to 5 and had the LLC on the side, and then you branched off and transferred into full-time entrepreneur once you saw that you had a sustainable income and so forth. But for those who started from scratch, hats off to y'all. And big respect always from somebody who knows it, you know what I'm saying? Because you go through a lot of trials and tribulation. I talking about like 1 month when I was working for this company doing some sales and marketing. Man, I catch a $500 check, you know what I'm saying? Man get bills to pay. Don't get me wrong, and I got money on the side to go pay the things, but imagine if you ain't had that cushion to go pay back your bills and you catch a $500 paycheck. Man, mortgage is $1,200. You can't even afford your mortgage. You know what I'm saying? So these are things that could really happen to you in the entrepreneurial lane. And don't get me wrong, some of it is you could factor it up to people going in with no business plans, people going in not understanding accounting. Like Malachi said earlier, you're not even checking your accounting and your accounts properly. So you think you're making money the whole time. You really ain't make no money the whole year come, and you really make no money because you're spending it as quick as you get. But it's crazy. Do you know of any untold realities or in your experience? All of us, you know what I'm saying? All of us know entrepreneurs, been entrepreneurs.
But yeah, I
What's
think
some
for
reality
you,
you think?
I think like you said, like that's one of the untold stories, but that come off as one of the biggest cons and misconceptions about being an entrepreneur versus being a 9 to 5, or like what Malachi mentioned. Like the biggest security for the 9 to 5 is that consistent check. And like you said, like some days like depend on like what you're doing, your output, your discipline. Your check is not going to be always the same as an entrepreneur. Like you could hit big this week and next week things slow down. Somebody else doing the same thing as you at a lower rate, or somebody doing it at a larger scale. So unless you could maneuver that, you may take a hit and you may not see, like you may not get a $1,500 like you get last week. You may only get $20, and you have to have that willpower to push through and adapt. So that's a big misconception I see with a lot of people. Like they think because they're hitting now, they're gonna stay on that level, but you gotta keep elevating. Like you said, do your research, and you can't stay comfortable, and you are the only person on your own tail. So I think that's a big thing. Like you need to hit on that again, because like not because they're doing well today or tomorrow or this month or this year means it will stay that way. So that's something.
I think one of the biggest things that helped me. So when I started off in sales, I started off as a W-2.
Mm-hmm.
So it was consistent. But being a lie, I had good mentors. I had good people behind me who kind of teaching me like, yo, first of all, I didn't really know no better at the time. So when I was working with another company, I didn't know that I could have go 1099, start my own business and go do this here and then go do business on the side, so forth. So I didn't even know. So I was just W-2. The whole time I could be putting money in my pocket that we're talking about and not paying these taxes out. And the benefit of having the money, even if you know you're going to pay it out at a certain point, the benefit of having more money in your pocket is because you could spend more money. If you're doing it right, you just have more money in your pocket to spend to generate more money. Not to go spend on all different things. If you spend the money the correct way, everything could damn near become a write-off. And like I said, we going to get into it because you got 1,000 things you could write off. Like, man, buying my mentor, buy Lambo, and them thing are writing them thing off. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to do a different part for that. But one of the things I learned in sales is the up and down, because in sales it's really up and down, you know what I'm saying? So one of the things I was always taught was, hey, in your ups, make sure you put away some money in your ups so that you can sustain through the downs.
Say that again for the people. Say that again for the people.
Yeah. And that's just generally in life, to be honest. Like, make sure you put away some money in your ups so that when the downs come, you have some money to weather the storm, you know what I'm saying? And in sales is very, like, depending on what you're into, is very temperamental. Like, you busting your ass 1 month is bam, $8,000 check. Next month you might catch 1,000. But now if you're undisciplined, you get excited because for some of us, this is the first time we've seen this kind of bread. So now it's, all right, bam, run off, trip, whoop-de-whoop here. And I talking to somebody who's made the mistakes, you know what I'm saying? Me avoid of this shit. I made the mistakes, so I'm going to sit on here and tell all the mistakes. And then you're thinking everything rocking, and then whatever happened the next month, the lead generation change, or let's say, whatever it is, something happened, your marketing ain't working the same, or something happened now, and you're in a drought for a month. Now you got $1,000 a month. You didn't put away no money. Now you're stuck. And then now you're feeling like, oh, boom, now you gotta go run here to go get it. Now is when you start using the credit cards really crazy, when you could use the positivity as well. But now is when you start really putting yourself into more debt and stuff because now you're trying to catch up. And then while you're doing this and you're worrying about this, and now it's really affecting your business because you can't even think straight, because most of the time, once your finances start going crazy, you can't operate how you're supposed to operate. So be mindful, man. Be mindful. As an entrepreneur in life, put away some money so that you're able to weather these storms when they come, because sometimes the storm won't come. I wish the storm don't come for nobody, but we live in reality and them shit gonna come sometime.
So I could add another untold reality, especially for those that's in it full time. It takes a transformation from your old self to really sustain a business and to bring it to growth. It also takes sacrifices, because at the end of the day, it takes money to make money, and you really do have to be investing in the business, especially if you're trying to grow it to where you want it to go. And sometimes that might mean that you ain't gonna have much pocket change to be working with to do other things outside of the business and your direct needs. So that's one item to keep in mind. That's where the discipline comes in. You can't be eating out, can't be doing all these different things. You have to really be mindful and intentional about how you spend, because if your plan and your goal is to grow that business, grow that company, especially if you're doing it from scratch and without a 9-to-5 or any other side hustles, you're gonna be broke in your pockets. It might not be on paper, but you might be broke in your pockets for a good little while. And you have a lot of people stay on friend couches. A lot of people makes extreme sacrifices to get to where they are to this day, because they knew that's what it took, and they had to get down in the dirt and really get to it and stick to it. That's the biggest thing, the consistency in that. So a lot of people not able to do that with their current state, which is why it would require a transformation.
Back to you, Malachi.
Yeah. I would say a big untold reality is the fact that you would have to wear many hats, and you would have to be doing jobs that you didn't expect you would have to do. You coming in thinking, yeah, I do accounting, but now I gotta do marketing, I gotta create flyers, I gotta do more creative things. So you wear many hats, and you become the main resource. Whereas you work in a job, you're doing your job, you're doing what you know how to do. somebody else gonna deal with the other things that helps the whole business run. But when it's just you and you don't have the resources or the finances to hire different people for different departments of the key functions of a business, such as accounting, marketing, human resources, operations, those are always going to be the key functions for any business, and you're going to have to hold many hats, especially say you're doing, you are creative, you're great at art, but now you have to think about the marketing side, the accounting side. Even if you're not an accountant, you still have to be able to just keep track and maintain the numbers, and yeah, you learn a lot. You know how to research. You looking up things that you never thought you would have been interested in.
Facts.
I was always a numbers guy. Never really cared for too much creative stuff, but not thinking about, okay, now I need business cards, or I need an Instagram page, or I need a logo. And, it's good to have people around you that have those other skills, which I was grateful to have, to take those things off of my mind, and I could really focus on what I want to focus on, which is my niche of the finances, and taking time to keep growing in that area versus having to sacrifice that time in perfecting the craft. You would not have to sacrifice that time to learn about the other operational roles that you would need to have the business run smoothly.
I think I want to jump in about another one.
Before you go there, Webb, I want to comment on something Malachi said and something that you've been saying on numerous pods. And he mentioned it right at the end about surrounding yourself with certain people. That's a misconception as well, where, we're in this day and age where we love to say we did it all by ourselves and we get out the mud.
Ooh, that was my next thing.
You check. Like Webb has been preaching this on almost every part, and it because it holds to everything. You could surround yourself with people, get mentors, get people who've been in the game, and people who have different mindsets. So you just like Malachi mentioned, like he know what he's good at and what he can succeed at, and these other aspects he had these people in his life that he could take that burden off. And yes, it's still your business, but if you surround yourself and you develop yourself in certain groups, certain peoples, get mentors. You don't have to do it all by yourself. You could still be successful. This is still your business, but you need these other avenues to help build and elevate you. So, it's something like Webb keep touching. Surround yourself with different people, like-minded people who've done it. Different people, get mentors. This is how you truly sustain a business, But touch what you're going to touch with.
And I'd add to that as well, because that was literally the next point, that you don't have to do it alone. Not even with surrounding yourself with people that just willing to help and it's still your business. You could go in with people that's and y'all have a common ground on what you want a business to look like, and you start off with having a partner. You don't, or partners, multiple members in that business, is not even to the point where you don't have to hire them, because they are a part of the team, they are a part of that business as a whole, and it's important to know that you don't have to do it alone. So many people fixated on this, doing it alone, and they just end up stressing, getting depressed, usually ends up with a failed business. But you really could set up a team that has those skill sets in place, and you move forward to the future. So that's important to keep in mind.
Hey, listen, if you broke, you better come up with some dope ideas and be the idea man. And link with the people who got bread. If you're creative, you don't know numbers, you better go link with some partners who know some numbers. And it don't have to always be like a partnership relationship, you know what I'm saying? Because once you network the correct way, because like I said, networking ain't just about just knowing a bunch of people. It's also knowing how to position people and how to appropriately use them. Not in a bad sense, in a positive sense, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But what I was gonna say is, with y'all going before me is perfect. With all that comes trust. All that shit we just say out there where you ain't gonna trust nobody, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. A lot of time ain't gonna make it in this game, or you're gonna be a sole proprietor, a single member LLC working within your business and slaving more than a 9 to 5 man for a long time. And for some, that's gonna be cool because you're doing something you love. But for a lot, it's not going to be cool because you are a slave to your business. You can't take time off because you're the only person know to do every damn thing, and you did not trust anybody else to be able to do anything else. For example, we have he in the background, so you guys can't hear him, but we have a producer here who's now helping us do different things. I have to have the trust in this person to be able to do their job. And sometimes you have to have systems implemented to have corrective action. Like, you're going to have employees. Are you going to tell me you don't trust none of your employees? What are you hiring them for? You ain't going to trust no employees? You're going to trust your CEO to do his thing? What you going to do, piggyback on his case every minute? You're going to be a slave to your business. You have to establish these relationships. Find the subject matter experts, like Malachi was talking about, so that for one, you could step away from those hats, and then two, you could, like Malachi is saying, focus on what you got to focus and really be able to scale a business. We don't really think about scaling enough as entrepreneurs because the hype is just get an LLC and just go on Instagram and Facebook and say, yeah, man, I got LLC, and then go make money. You ain't paying no tax. You ain't doing nothing. You ain't even trying to scale your business. You're just doing a little thing on the side, like Malachi said, it becomes like a hobby for real. You know what I'm saying? But if you're serious about this thing, for one, you're going to go out there and find some of these skills. Marketing certifications is easier shit to get. Accounting, not as easy to get into, but there's Mint app, there's this app, there's Turbo Tax. Get one of their apps now. QuickBooks, yeah, there's apps for these things. And be a researcher. Be a researcher. If you're a researcher, you in good fucking position. Because once you start realizing they have so much resources out there, don't let's get me started about AI. AI doing half the fucking work at this point. Like, me and lighting. If you're a man and you telling me you serious about being an entrepreneur or serious about having a side hustle, and you telling me bullshit like, oh, I can't do this, big man, in my man, you jokey. Straight, I talking to you, whoever watching this, and you feel that type of way by me saying that. You is who if you jokey boy, McGill. Because the resources out there, bro. You could tell ChatGPT go make marketing plan, that shit gonna do it. You could tell ChatGPT goes give you like a blanket budget. And don't get me wrong, you know, these things ain't gonna be the best at their ability, but they're stepping stools to get you to the point where you could pay somebody. And some of y'all not even thinking about having a budget to be able to pay. You come in and say, hey, I want to go get marketing, but you have no marketing budget. Do a little bit more due diligence if you're serious about these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially if you see people who are willing to give you decent prices for consultation, sometimes you get business coach and these things, though you may think it's not a good idea. For one, is a business write-off. There are tax write-off half of these things I'm talking about. There are tax write-off. There's business expenses. So you're going to save money doing it. I tell people, listen, it's either the government going to take it from you or you're going to spend it before the government take it from you. One way or the other, the money getting spent is either to the IRS or you spend it on something that makes sense. So spend it on something that makes sense. Go get you a mentor. We're talking about it again. Go find you a tax professional. Go find your accountant. Even if you just pay for a consultation to get an idea of where to start asking the questions on the internet, them things is powerful. You know what I'm saying? Because those things will set you aside from the people who just doing this and miserable and the people who seen a certain level of success. And I ain't talking about like millionaire. I'm talking about just success in general, because our measurement of success is far from where it need to be. If you're making $45,000, $50,000, $60,000, whatever it is, even a little extra bread in your pocket in this fucking economy, you doing well, partner. Pat yourself on the fucking back and keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? Because this thing here ain't easy. And we talked about it as one of the untold realities. This shit is not easy. Entrepreneurship shit, 9 to 5 ain't so that fucking easy no more, because everybody hate the job, because all we doing is getting into job because of the money pay. I think me and Farah, or I think me and you talk about it on one of the pods.
Yeah.
We just getting into for job for money. So just have some trust. Keep your head on. Link man like Malachi. We're gonna get right into your business now. Link man like Malachi to get some insights. Yeah, I see my boy talking about setting up business. Yeah, I see my boy talking about the bank accounts. I know if you shoot the man at DM with a little question, the man probably gonna answer you. And if you go too in depth, the man might gotta knock you a price. You know what I'm saying? But with that, Malachi, you're a business owner. You're doing your thing. You're a professional. Talk about your background a little bit. How people could find you, request your services, and so forth.
Yes, so I went to school in Texas, Austin, Texas. I went to a HBCU called Houston Texas University. I graduated with a degree in accounting in 2021. From there, I've worked, even during my time in college, I worked with nonprofits, worked with a couple corporations. I've worked with small businesses, worked in the government, spent some time in IRB, spent some time in finance, spent some time rotating to a lot of different agencies in the government. I'm currently at the UVI Research and Technology Park, the RT Park. I am the business development associate over there. So, for me, I reach back and I see my jobs as job training, you know, tapping into people that's already there, have the experience. And my job is to not just come in and do what you say, but to also ask questions and pick your brain and keep these people as resources that, whenever I need a question answered, I could always call some old supervisors, some old managers, and, you know, ask a question and they could help me out, guide me. So from all of that information and knowledge I've been receiving over these years, I said, you know what, I should be able to start my own business. I have the framework, the groundwork, the foundation to be able to say, hey, I could actually charge for the words and the information that I share. So last year I started my business, Sankofa Consulting. I got the name Sankofa from the Sankofa bird. It means to reach back to the past to see how you're going to deal with the future. So you're looking at your mistakes and you're learning from your mistakes. You're reaching back to the past to see how you're going to, not make the same mistakes again and again. I got that concept, because I went to Ghana and I was there with the Ashanti tribe, and we was making like drink clots and doing all that stuff, and it really stick with me. And just that whole experience really shifted my mind to really say, okay, well, we are in a great position where we live, but we still have some information that we need to gain to just move to the next level. And that's that financial information. Understanding taxes, understanding setting up a business, how to utilize the system that we live in, even though many people may see it as a detrimental system. People are living well off of this system, and I believe that we should also learn how to use the system if it is still in place. Yes, one day every system will fall, but as the reigning system that is here and standing, you should not just be taken advantage of. You should be taking advantage of the system because that's how it's set up. It's a lot of different benefits and advantages, and we need to start making the same financial mistakes as people before us because they chose not to learn about it. And my job now is to help people open their eyes to the information, to the knowledge, and that's how I reaching back to help people with their financial futures. So I go for consulting.
My boy got a serious message and
Respect
a
to that,
meaning
man.
behind how we
Yeah,
get his
jeez, and
name.
bread.
Dude,
Yeah,
That
that's
was
big respect,
powerful.
man.
it's just not a name he pull out the bag. He put thought and effort into that.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I completely agree with you. I think, especially in the Virgin Islands, we lack the financial education, and that's a part of the reason why a lot of us are in the positions we're in. Shit, damn near that's a part of the reason the whole damn Virgin Islands is maybe in some of the positions is in. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not educating ourselves, like you say. Sometimes it just comes down to the people before us. They didn't even choose to get the information neither, so by default couldn't pass it down to us. But we had in a time where information is available and we just have to have the discipline to be able to seek it, and those who want to, but y'all not come true. We're gonna bring some of the information right to your doorstep, right to your phone, right to your tablet, right to your laptop, right to your TV screen, wherever you're watching on. So we really appreciate you coming through and sharing your blessing with us. Definitely probably gonna have you back for a tax conversation, maybe. You could get real crazy with them taxes. I was saying once you know what going on. So, but definitely I appreciate it. Do you have anything in closing you want to tell the people?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for bringing me on and giving me an opportunity to share some knowledge because that's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy talking about these things because for me it's fun. It's interesting, numbers, everything. That was always something that I enjoyed growing up. And now I'm seeing ways that it could impact people's lives. And yeah, I enjoy having the time to talk about these things. It helps me learn as well with recall and being able to reshare the information that I spend a lot of time looking into. And yeah, appreciate it. And I hope things keep building and growing from here. And yeah, live streams come in and everything will be nice and cool, and people could come in and yeah, I could see that coming for I also. Let's keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, welcome to the podcast world.
Hey, give thanks.
Yes,
Before we
sir.
did, I nearly forget. Gratitude, real quick, we over 10. Gratitude. Malachi, if you didn't know, after the episodes or at the end of the episode, we'd like to give gratitude for the last week. There's anything. It could be whatever you just want to be you thankful for this week. I thankful for my dogs, man. Like we shared in the beginning of the pod. I had an amazing trip. Some friends, Tafari Tata were talking about him. I don't give thanks for a little clone duty. Enough.
I hope y'all is in an awkward situation.
I know you ain't talking about us. Yeah.
But give thanks to my dog for a little successful trip. You know what I'm saying? We keep the funks way cool and everything, man. I don't know, of course, give thanks for the team as usual. Give thanks for the team. Even if I don't answer nobody, text is cool. You know what I'm saying? But give thanks
I go into my ghost periods, man. I guess I'll take it next, man. I give thanks to Bernice, man. Shout out to Amelia. They start up this sweets. I forget the name of it, but they had some dope ass cake yesterday. That strawberry was amazing, and that chocolate was also amazing. So I just want to
pretty yummy.
shout, pretty yummy. It was great. So thanks. Shout out.
Yeah, man. Why shouting out? I giving gratitude to biggest gratitude because she represent the Virgin Islands to the fullest. Shout out to Coach Ty. Her 16U volleyball team went to the AAU tournament in Orlando. They do the thing. 2024 champions. She get out the mud. Big up yourself, babes. Yeah, positive guidance. She went up there. All that's a sacrifice. So that shows you, you put in that time, put in that effort, get back to the community for free, working with the youths, took them for a life-changing experience. Even though winning isn't everything, they did win. So big shout out to her and her team for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to give gratitude to the weather that we had because these past couple of days, weeks, tropical storm, hurricane, Beryl been coming through and doing some damage in certain areas, but we was able to escape that one. But hopefully everybody that experienced that from the islands to the states, hope they could recover from wherever they lost. And give thanks for the security that we was able to receive.
Prayers out to anybody who is who family or who themselves are negatively affected by what's going on with the weather, the hurricanes, the tropical storms. There's going to be looking like it's going to be a rough hurricane season. So prayers out ahead of time. Yeah, for those who don't know, for us who grew up in the islands, got family in the islands, live in the islands, this hurricane seasons don't be no joke. You know what I'm saying? This is times where things could get real or it could be cool. But so far, it's looking like it might be a real one to check. So prayers for sure. And we appreciate anybody who went to give some prayers on behalf of the Caribbean and some of the states as well. But man is Caribbean man in this pod, so it is what it is. With that, Farah, you know what you guys set to close me out, man.
Yes, I. Peace over the heart. Thanks for coming through, man.